All right, all right, all right. Y'all give me a minute. I got to check, make sure everything is working correctly. Let's make sure our people on Instagram can see and hear us. It looks great. Let's look at LinkedIn. Let's see what we got on LinkedIn. Okay. Yep. We're good on LinkedIn. Thank y'all so much for joining us. This is another live, and we got another great story to talk to you about. We got a gentleman who went from history professor to DevOps engineer, and we're just here to really help you get the gems you need to focus on transitioning your career into a cloud engineering career, DevOps engineering career, site reliability engineering, whatever cloud that you're looking at as far as operating in and working in as an engineer. We want to just help you navigate the roadblocks that we all had to navigate or we bumped our head against, and give you positive success stories out there to show you that you can actually do this. There are a lot of people out there that tell you, oh, no, you can't do this. It's no way. I wasn't able to do it. And we want to continue to showcase people who have done the work, who didn't give up and was successful. So we got a special guest today. This gentleman came through the program and just powered his way through and ended up landing a great DevOps engineering role. And I want y'all, if y'all can hear and see me, put the SDs in the chat right now. I'm gonna call him Slam Duncan, Sam Duncan. What's up, big brother? How are you?
I'm good. I haven't been slim in a hot minute, but I'm good.
I appreciate you coming on, man, and just sharing your journey and just really, give these people some gems so they could just take home and marinate on it and put it into action so they can be successful, man. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So can you describe who you were before you decided to make a significant change in your career and jump into cloud engineering?
Sure. I'm a little long in the tooth, and I've worn a lot of hats, as they say. I've worked in everything from restaurant management. I was a jump master in the 82nd Airborne
Mm,
for several years, combat veteran. For the past decade, though, if you ask me who I would say I was a historian. I was an academic historian. I taught higher ed classes in American history, African American history, environmental studies, uh, at several different institutions in and around Northeast Ohio. And I taught those in multiple formats, both in person, hybrid, online, about any way you could teach. I've taught. So that's how I would define myself, how I would have defined myself prior to this past January.
yeah, so a man of many hats. So when you say the second airborne, that was what? Is that Fayetteville?
Yes,
Fort Bragg?
yes.
Cool, cool, man. And so as you going through your journey of being in the military and then now being a professor teaching people, um, what was the turning point that made you realize you needed to make a change?
Yeah, that's kind of I was thinking about this earlier. Well, I've thought about it for a long time actually, but it's sort of a big question. There are a lot of things that sort of converge. I mean, you don't. It doesn't take a genius to open up the news or watch the news or stream wherever you get your news and see that teaching history has become politically fraught of
Ooh.
late. You know, you have politicians who want to make hay over how history should be taught, what history should be taught, and so that's one element: the politicization of academia, the sort of withering of the academic job market itself. Um, is something like 65 to 70% of higher ed classes across the United States are taught by contingent faculty, people with no permanence, no tenure, no protections, very little benefits, no job security from one semester to the next.
Mm.
And that's the majority of people teaching in higher ed now. So it's that, but then also those are all negative things, and I want to focus on the positive. There were things that pushed me away from academia, but there were things that pulled me toward tech. I found myself more and more in my teaching career being interested in the platforms for education delivery, things like Canvas, Blackboard, and those kind of things.
Yep.
And I began thinking about like how those things work on the back end. How would I make a system different and better? What things would I do before I had any of the technical knowledge to even think about
That's dope.
approaching that? I was, sort of daydreaming about how to problem solve some of these things. How would I make that system better? Which got me interested in where would I go to learn the skills necessary to do that kind of stuff. So that was always that had been building for some time, and then I actually landed upon Level Up in Tech thanks to a former graduate, Dana Gibson, whose wife and my wife played volleyball together at Greensboro College. Uh, yeah, so she had sort of I guess my wife and her wife had talked a little bit about what I was struggling with, my sort of soul searching and trying to find something as the academic job market was withering, and Dana had just finished Level Up in Tech and gotten a lucrative started a lucrative career in a tech field, coming from education herself. And so I had this example of somebody like, okay, here's somebody coming from education, moving into the tech world. Like this can be done, and that sort of pushed me even further in that direction. It took me about a year, to be honest, after seeing Dana's success before I actually had the guts to pull the trigger on that.
I mean, that's common, right? I mean, because you you have your doubts, and fears. And that's the next question too, right? So like what were the doubts and fears about this and what made you say yes anyway?
Yeah, I was deeply hesitant for a lot of reasons. Comfortability. I was comfortable even though I was struggling in doing what I was doing as a college professor. And truth be told, that what that looked like was piecing together a class here, a class there, at this institution, that institution, teaching at this college and that college, just to piece together a schedule that would get me a little bit less than what I made as a shift supervisor at KFC in the mid 1990s as a teenager. So
Oh
that's what
God.
yeah, that's what that looked like. But it was comfortable, right? So it's hard to break out of that comfortability, even when it's something that is comfortably horrible.
Yeah, man.
um, so had the hesitation of comfortability. I had the hesitation of feeling that imposter syndrome that I think, you know, anytime you branch out into something new, you sort of feel that. I felt it in academia. I felt it in a lot of things. Um, so I had that sort of imposter, and I guess academia had beaten into me that you have to have that credential, you have to have that degree, you have to have that
Mm,
sort of nominal or more normative experience before people will take you seriously. So I really had doubts about whether I could get a hiring manager or somebody to take me seriously without that degree, without a computer science degree under my belt. So I had a lot of hesitations there. What pushed me, besides my wife, no, I mean, truthfully, she's the biggest supporter, the biggest cheerleader. There's no way I could have possibly done this without her. So she definitely provided this sort of steady rock and foundation of encouragement and support. And then I would say the other thing that sort of drove me and pushed me, um, my mom passed away about a month before I started Level Up,
mm,
and I remember I remember when I was a kid and she went back to get her master's degree. Well, I was in high school and she went back to get her master's degree in nursing. And one of her friends said to her, "You're going to be 50 by the time you finish that degree." And she said, "I'm going to be 50 anyway. I might as well be 50 with a master's degree." And it was kind of that, tenacity and remembering her in the wake of her passing that sort of gave me that extra nudge.
yeah, yeah. Man, that's awesome, man. Like as far as you able to just life those things and life just be life, right? And regardless of what goes on, you were able to just take that and muster up the strength to say, hey, I'm gonna make her proud, make myself proud. And she was right. Life is gonna go on anyway. So what am I scared of? You know?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and that's the thing for me, like when I was trying to get into the industry, I was like, man, all these things I'm learning, I'm not going to be able to showcase in a real job. So that really stopped me as far as a roadblock, my own thoughts of like, hey, you're gonna fail, you're gonna get in there and they're gonna fire you on your first week. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? If they fire me, they fire me. I just look for another job. We're gonna go in, you know. And the crazy thing too is I'll share this little story that I don't share too often is when I try to get a training architect role at Linux Academy, which we was just doing cloud training, which I am now, but then I was trying to get into the industry as it. In the interview, the manager, his name is Thomas Hazlitt, he gave me a project to do. So I had to take home a project and teach about this service that I never taught before in like a 5 to 7 minute video. And for people that know me, like I wore all type of hats as well, entrepreneurially and job wise. So, I was a musician where I performing for the thousands of people. I did music videos and I go to conferences as a sneaker reseller and I meet different people. And even at my job as a banker, I'm dealing with hundreds of people a day. But this little video and the people that were watching, like maybe two people that was going to watch it, scared the crap out of me. And I literally sat in bed and I told her, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna email Tom and I'm gonna tell him I appreciate the opportunity, but I don't think this is for me. And he should probably find another candidate." And hey, listen, y'all, I'm gonna give y'all the real. She looked at me and said, "If you don't take your ass in the living room and do that project, I'm gonna kick your ass." Sorry, y'all, for those who's listening. And I was like, you know what? I go ahead and do it. And I did it, got out of my comfort zone, took everything that I was scared of and made it into fuel. And I sent it in and they said, "Man, you did a wonderful job on this, but we're not gonna hire you for this role." And I was like, wow. But they created a role for me because they seen the persistence, the education that I was, certifications, the projects, and all the branding I was doing on LinkedIn. And I was networking. I was bothering them about the role. I was just hitting them up every week, like, hey, just want to showcase what I'm doing. And, it's funny how the things that we think are going to happen don't happen at all and actually be the things that really just push us to be successful and not be scared. So the fear just actually turned the fuel. In your case, your hardships that you had just was able to push you into a new life that you probably never thought of before that last year. And man, I commend you, brother, because those some hard times. I'm sure, and you're here, and you're successful. You're being successful in your job that you set out to do. What was this, a year ago? Maybe a year some change ago. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I started
definitely,
in the July of last year. I started Level Up.
yeah, man. So you're definitely killing it, man. So, question for you, like, why are you going through the program, right? What are some of the biggest obstacles you encountered mentally or otherwise on your journey, that pretty much helped build you to where you are now that you blew through?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest obstacles I probably encountered was, well, two things. One was the lingo. I mean, the tech industry I'm familiar with the military, but the tech industry has more acronyms than the military. I mean, it's just everywhere you look, everything's an acronym. So I sort of felt a little discombobulated a little bit and not familiar with the lingo. So I felt like I was constantly having to look things up just to get through like basic lessons. Or, as we're going through the coursework and looking at the videos, people are like, "Oh, you can speed this up to 1.5," and I'm like, "No, I need to slow that down to half speed so I can understand." So there was a little bit of that. I felt like it took me twice as long to sort of process things, uh, because I'm also one of those people who I'm not content with just getting like, "Okay, I know what that is." I have to understand it. Like I have to understand every part of it and how it works and how, from this angle and that angle. Uh, so I probably put more work on myself than is necessary in some
Yeah.
ways. But I like to have that sort of deep foundational understanding for things. Uh, the other obstacle was learning to reach out, reach out to other people. I kind of am hesitant to do that for various reasons in my background and history. Uh, but it was sort of that was a something I had to overcome. Is it's okay to reach out and say I'm struggling here. I don't understand this too well.
Yeah.
Could you help me here? Or even, and this is the great thing about Level Up was the co as everybody goes through as a cohort. Um, being able to not only reach out to coaches but reach out to other people in your cohort uh, for hey, do you understand this? I'm having a little bit problem with this, and being able to reach out to peers was something new. But once I overcame that obstacle, man, things really started to click. Once I sort of tried to, I don't know if it's ego, but we'll say ego. Shove my ego aside. Of I have to do
Right.
everything
You
by
go. Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Once I was able to do that, things really started to click. I felt like.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that's everyone, right? Because what we don't want, and those of you that are listening, probably going through this as well through a program or even through just, a community, we don't want to look like we're the stupid one, right? And we don't want to ask a question where somebody's like, why would you ask that dumb question, broadest? And the crazy thing is, we have to realize is, if people are in the community, they're in there learning just like you. And while I may sit over there and I look at, you know, Sam and I say, man, Sam is really killing it. He is really killing it. And I'm over here just struggling, trying to figure out what this means, trying to figure out how this goes with this, etc. The thing we don't know is Sam is looking at me like, bro, this is over there killing it. I don't know how he's doing this. And all it takes is for us to reach out to each other to realize we're both on the same playing field. We're both doing the same thing. And some of you may feel like that right now. And here's the thing that gets you. And I want y'all to be aware of it as well, because it's a thing that imposter syndrome tricked me into almost giving up as well. So we see here we struggle in silo, and then we finally ask a question or reach out to someone or whatever the case may be, and that person gives us something or helps us fix something in a matter of minutes. And let's say we've been struggling for hours, or let's say I've been struggling for a whole day. Once that person helps me within that minute, then imposter syndrome clicks in to say, see, you are no good. That person was able to solve it in 2 minutes. It took you a whole entire day. But what we have to do is give ourselves grace, because we don't know what we don't know. And that's the experience. Once we realize that we can fix it in a minute, that experience never goes away. So if somebody else struggling with it, we're like, oh, I got you. Hold on. Let me show you what you, okay, boom. That's what experience is all about. And a lot of you are beating yourself up right now because you're struggling in silo, and you're trying to figure out things on your own. The thing I would say before we move on, for you all to understand is this: when Sam said he trying to figure out how everything was connected and how deep foundational level, like I need to understand everything. What we have to understand is when we get into this, sometimes we're going to be order takers before we know actually the impact of what we're doing. So sometimes what I mean is sometimes you're going to know what and how to do it before you know what's going on behind the scenes or what's impacting and how everything's integrated together. And that experience could just comes on the job, or just comes with sitting in meetings, learning more about infrastructure, the architecture of what you're doing. And don't beat yourself up right now because you don't know 100% of how Unix or Linux work, or 100% of how Terraform works, or 100% of how AWS works as a cloud service provider, or Azure or GCP. Just understand, like, hey, I'm getting better every day. And long as I get better, the experience is going to come, the knowledge is going to come, and then one day I would know exactly what I'm doing and exactly how it's impacting companies the way I'm doing it. So just a little gem for y'all, so you can take a deep breath and relax, man. Because it is, it can kill a career. The thought process can make you quit. So I just want everyone to realize that.
Broadus, I would add to that just for everyone out there, like in the role I'm currently in, I still encounter this, like, where number one, I still have there's instances where I struggle with something for half a day. I shoot a message to my supervisor, and this guy is just I can't say enough good things about him. And he immediately jumps on. It's like, oh, here's what you need to do. Solves it in 2 minutes. But then he's very much supportive in saying, like, look, your instincts were right. You were on the right track. Like, you'll get there. So even in the role, you're still going to encounter a lot of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a constant learning process, and even in that I've had interactions with my supervisor. Where I'm like, hey, if we do this thing that we're supposed to do, given the architecture we have, won't that affect this? He's like, I don't know. Why don't you go research that? Look at go see if that. So um, or I just or maybe he knows and he's just letting me to go do the research. That's probably more accurate, to be honest. But there's still that constant learning,
Yeah,
constant learning.
it's a lifelong learning journey. So those of you trying to get in, just understand it doesn't stop. To get better and stay where you are, you got to keep learning. Uh, cloud, the cloud boom, that's what we call it in 2020, especially when COVID hit, showed us that you can't be complacent in a role. You can't come and just do your job and don't continue to learn, because those who did it before the cloud boom in 2020, when COVID came, companies who allowed it to happen and individuals who allowed themselves to slip into that funk were in serious trouble when companies had to adopt cloud, and they didn't even know how to even invest into talent. And people were coming to us, or just even coming to me on LinkedIn, like, hey, I need help because my company is moving towards the cloud and I have no idea what I'm doing. So you have to just embrace the challenges that come every day and just understand they are learning opportunities. So if you can you drop a gem on someone, as far as like when the times got tough, when the imposter syndrome hit, or when you hit a roadblock in your project and you got frustrated, how did you stay motivated and focused during that time?
Uh, I will confess that, and not really much a confession as it is praise for Level Up, that the coaches are phenomenal about maintaining um, the cheerleading, the motivation. I started off my cohort started off week one with Fanya, and that guy's just a natural born motivator. He's just,
Yeah, yeah,
and he
yeah.
sort of immediately from the get go, our whole cohort sort of adopted, his enthusiasm for cheering each other on. We were all sending messages to each other after our first AWS test, and everybody's cheering each other on and super supportive, and that sort of carried on through the rest of the coaches. I, there was one week where I completely wiped out by accident all of my default subnets in AWS, just wiped them out. And immediately Carl like messaged me like, "Hey, you got time to jump on a call?" And he jumps on the call. He like encourages me, "Hey, this is okay. It can be recovered," and sort of walks me through and maintain that sort of supportive environment and everything. So when I found times where I was struggling and stuff, it was really the coaching and then our peers, our cohorts,
Mm.
um, that were real, sort of rocks to lean on in those kind of times. So it's just a real supportive environment that made those times a lot easier to deal with than if you were, you know, doing coursework on your own without that support network.
So speaking of, if you're doing that on your own, right? it's very important that you find a community. There's plenty of communities on Discord, Slack, Facebook, new platform called School. Find a community of, you know, mentors or coaches or even just peers who you can bounce questions off, who you can reach out to, because the motivation is temporary and you will hit a roadblock that will frustrate the crap out of you, and it will make you want to give up. And what you need is a supportive community of people who've been there and to tell you that it gets better. Because for some reason, while you in that funk, you may believe like, oh man, it's just it's just not going to get better. And I want to tell y'all, I'm gonna say this every live session I have. The thing that you're looking at in frustration as a roadblock in your journey, whether it's a project or tutorial or just you just trying to fix something and it's not going right, or you just trying to complete something and you're like, I keep getting this error. I don't know what's going on. That is the thing that's building you to be the best cloud engineer you possibly can be. It's not a roadblock. It's just the test to your testimony. So when you get through it, you can help other people and you can get into your job and be as good as well. Because for a lot of people, you may not see this now, but I'm telling you, when you get into a role, excuse me, there are going to be people that have been working in that organization for a while. And some of those people are not or have not gone through some of the things you've gone through as far as, you building a project or you're banging your head against the wall trying to fix something or you're trying to troubleshoot. Some people have not gone through that. And you're going to be surprised when people reach out to you based on your ability to do something better than them, and you just got there. So the things that you go through now is just preparing you to be great when you land that role, or even just get into that interview to showcase, hey, this is what I can do. So yes, the frustrating times is just building you to be stronger. So keep going, no matter how you feel. All right. So we going through the program. You done got your search, you done got your projects done, you done did everything we asked you to do. And now it's time to hit the market, which is one of the that's the tough thing. The easy thing is learning. You may think it's frustrating, but the easy thing is learning. The tough thing is now selling yourself and showcasing, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and when you were applying to roles, and if you got any, rejections, etc., or what did it look like when you were going through the process of trying to land this role with your current company?
Sure. So I graduated right at the end of December, like December 31st. um, and I landed my role in May, early May,
Hmm,
and I started May 20th. So there was some time. So yeah, there was a lot of rejections, a lot of soft rejections, meaning nobody even looked at my stuff. it's
right.
but it was just it's a numbers game. You put in as many applications as you can. You keep putting them in. You do the work. You revise the resume. You add to the resume. Uh, uh, as you do projects post graduation, and I would say that is really important as well, both on your own and hats off to Level Up for my cohort was the first that implemented directed projects post graduation. And I'll say something in a little while about how important that was. But all in like keeping that project work going so that you're still adding to that resume. Maybe if you come out of the program and you don't feel quite comfortable about APIs, look up a project on creating an API, write it up, put it out there,
Yep.
uh, or CI/CD pipelines, or there's plenty of stuff that you touch on throughout the coursework, but maybe you don't do a deep dive to. Well, after when you're on the job market and you're putting those resumes out there and you're putting those applications in, that's the time to start doing some deep diving as much as you can into
Yeah.
those kind of categories. So that was, you know, that was 4 months of that before I finally got, any sort of nibble back on any of that bait I was putting out there. And eventually, the company that I landed was, it was local, relatively local. They're about 45, 50 minutes away from where I
Oh,
live.
wow. Okay.
And that sort of worked to my favor too, is that I was willing to be hybrid or in the office, and they were looking for somebody that could be there a couple days a week, with some flexibility. Um, so that sort of worked to my benefit. Um, but yeah, it was just trusting the process.
Mm.
The career and development team, um, Guillermo, was super helpful and sort of, you know, directing us and working out those, uh, questions, the
Yeah, yeah,
interview
yeah,
process,
yeah.
dealing with the mock interviews, and just putting yourself out there and being willing to embarrass yourself and get grilled in front of your cohort. That's all part of the process, but trusting the process and letting the process work, I think is key to that.
Yeah. So I think once again, reiterate, is that the job search is one of the toughest because not only it requires execution, it requires you to get around your feelings. So learning while people get through the learning process, regardless of what you're doing, right? Self-learning, whatever. And you're like, okay, I'm ready. Now the time comes for you to showcase and network and introduce yourself and apply to roles and then say, hey, hey, you work here. I just applied here. I would love to talk to you more about, the day to day, etc. And we get so stuck on how we feel because we're scared to do that, that it kind of freezes us. But like Sam said, you just have to go through the process and understand that you're going to get a no. You're going to get many no's in some cases. And those no's can get you down. Those no's can, have you feeling like even though you went through all of that training, whatever you did, it make you feel like, you know what, this ain't for me. I got here, but nobody's biting. But the people who are successful and who, and moving from mid-career from whatever industry they're in into cloud engineering are the people who just kept going. So regardless if it's 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, or whatever the case may be, you just have to keep going. And the most important thing for those who are listening, you got to continue to showcase that you're able to continue to solve problems. So even if you go through an interview or you got rejected and let's say you asked for feedback and they said, oh, it's because you don't have this, that, and other experience. Don't get down and say, oh man, they just told me I ain't even got this experience. How about you just do what Sam said? Go and find a project and showcasing that you're able to solve the problem with those tools and services that they're looking for people to have experience with. And guess what? It's no law that says you can't reach back out to them and say, hey, I know last week we had the interview and you said I need experience, but I wanted to share with you my 3 projects that I just did that really I think aligns with what your company is looking for. Check them out. I would love to get feedback from y'all. That's how you continue to build relationships, and that's how you continue to showcase that you're here to solve the problem. So when they have another role, if they fill that role, you'll be the first person that they think of. This is what we call marketing, right? This is now what we call we have to do it differently because it's so much competition out here with people not even transitioning, but let's say uh people with years of experience who just want a job right now are applying for the junior roles as well. And what companies fail to realize is those people are just looking for the stepstone, right? If you're used to making 160 and let's say you take a role for 90K, you're probably not staying there too long because you just want something to continue to get a paycheck and then you move to the next level when you find it. But guess what? It's still okay. Competition is good because it helps you get more creative and standing out. So you have to think like, okay, if I created a business, let's say a lawn care business or whatever, and I got other lawn care services around, how am I going to stand out and get the attention of the people that I need to be able to land my clients? And once you adopt that mindset, I'm gonna give you a tip right now. I just want to give y'all a gem. If you are already applying to roles, if you already had meetings with recruiters or hiring managers or whatever, you need to take the emails. You need to create an email list, just like a company would, an email list of their potential customers or their customers, MailChimp, whatever. And you need to use that email list to curate and nurture those potential clients to showcase and give them updates of what you've been doing every week. So if you're studying for a certification and you got a certification, email go out to all those people I've already talked to, whether it's 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever. And we're going to continue to show I just got the certification. This is great for you because you said, I needed experience in this area. And you see, I'm getting the fundamentals. I just did these 3 projects. Check them out. That way, you staying on the top of list and top of mind. That's all it takes. You're going to get the opportunities, and you just need to continue to prep. So when the opportunity meets preparation, that can equal success for y'all. All right. So
If I can add something to that.
yeah,
So
for sure.
one of the things that I'm stealing this from Troy. Troy stole it from somebody else in an earlier cohort, right? And he told us during the career and development portion of post graduation. He told us that this person went out on the job interview and they basically said something to the effect of like, "Look, I did all this project work, all this work and studying and learning. I did all this while doing my other job,
Mm,
trying to break into this field. Imagine what I could do if this was my primary job."
mm.
And what that
Oh,
really is, and what you're talking about as well, is communicating your desire to do this.
absolutely.
And I think that's what really stands out. It's what stood out for me. My hiring manager, my supervisor, essentially told me like he recognized that I wanted to be here, I wanted to do this, and I was willing to work hard and learn. And that is a huge deal. So communicating that desire. I'm not here just to like you don't just shift careers on a dime,
Right.
on the whim of a hat,
Yeah.
or on a whim, or at the drop of a hat. I'm mixing
Drop a hat.
metaphors, but you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
you don't just do it willy nilly. You have a desire, and
Yep.
if you can communicate that effectively to the people who are making the hiring decisions, that can make a tremendous difference.
Absolutely. So, all right, now we got that right. Let's talk about. Tell us more about the interviewing process and compared to what you thought it would be to what it actually was. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I will. I will tell you about that by comparing it to some of the academic interviews I've been
Okay.
a part of. In academic interviews, I've gone through the paper application, then a callback, then uh, one video conference with one level, then in person teaching demonstration and post demonstration interview, then an elevated interview to the president of the campus. So 5 tiers of interview process, all to be told no at the end of it. So I was fairly familiar with, and I sort of assumed this is what it's going to look like. I was wrong. And now that's not to say that we all know there's plenty of those still out there. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, you're going to run into those, and that's just the nature of the beast. I was very fortunate in the fact that um, I put an application in when it came across uh, the career and development, and I saw this place in fairly close to where I live. So I put the application in, and it was actually my supervisor, the chief technical officer, who contacted me first and was like, "Hey, we'd like to interview you." Okay. So I had an interview with the chief technical officer first, and then I had an interview with the DevOps manager, and that was it. 2 interviews. Now that interview went pretty well. The chief technical officer and I, sort of talked about sort of thousand thousand foot view of things,
Mhm.
sort of big picture kind of stuff. And then when I met with the DevOps manager, uh, talk, typical, tell us about yourself and that kind of thing, initial questions. Then one of the first question I got pretty much was, tell us about a project you've done. This is where it comes in handy. What I was talking about, me being part of the first cohort of the Level Up graduates who had the guided project work after graduation. The project that we did, I think it was back in February, was to build. It was fairly simple. Build a static website uh, in S3, but using Terraform as an infrastructure as code and doing
So
it
you're
through
talking about
code
the
builder
pod
code.
collaboration.
Right.
Pod collaboration. Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
pod collaborations. Yeah.
Yep.
And it was a group project, and we were working and creating a CI/CD pipeline for all of this because we didn't get a lot of work with the CI/CD pipeline during the coursework. So it was a chance to develop those skills further. That project, once I described that project, and I included all those elements, it included infrastructure as code, it included static website and DNS allocation and I can't remember. I think we did caching with that too.
Yeah.
So we were talking about caching, and we were talking about the pipeline and repository and source control. And once I got through talking about all the different pieces that project hit, after the question, the DevOps manager and the coder who was part of the interview as well, they both just said, "Yeah, well, you pretty much answered all the questions we had." So that's the importance of those projects. I would say if you can take a single pod project, a collaboration, and talk about your ability to work with each other as a group, overcome some of the obstacles and pitfalls that you encounter naturally along the way, because you're
Yep.
going to, what you did to resolve those, how you managed to overcome those, and all those different pieces of the little bits of DevOps and cloud engineering tools that you're able to implement and are familiar with, either conceptually or more fine grained. All of that, if you can pull all that together into sort of a single soundbite, or at least 3 or 4 sentences worth of stuff, that's powerful. I
Absolutely.
think.
Yeah. I think, so one of the goals, um, and it works, and we continue to see it work with the pod collaboration is to get y'all on the team and work on real product to ship, but also understand that we want to see how you communicate with the customers as well, right? So communicating with the customer, um, through whatever, understanding what the customer needs, asking for permissions, etc. But also understanding in a real working environment, let's be honest, someone or some people may not hold it in the project, or they may not come to work at all. So now we have to figure out and deal with, like, okay, this person didn't come to work to do their task or story point today off of Trello. How do we get this done? It was theirs. Who's going to take it? How are we going to deliver this on time to the customer? Or if we can't, how do we communicate with the customer? Hey, this is what we have right now, and this is what we need to move forward. That builds confidence. And I'm glad that was able to really showcase your ability to not only just work on the team, but showcase your ability to continuously build yourself so you can get the job, man. That's super awesome, man. And a lot of people are super nervous about interviews, but what you got to understand about interviews is while they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them as well. So your mind frame should come in like, okay, from my research, what I've done with the role and what I've done about the organization, I like so far. But my goal is to just deep dive with them to see like what's the day to day, what that looks like, what growth looks like for me, what the culture looks like, and to see if I want to work there based on what they tell me about the company. And really you should look at it a standpoint like when if they ask you why you want to work for them, then you should, ask them like, why should I work for you? Why should I come and work for AWS? And because at the end of the day, once again, this is an agreement. You want to land the best client for your business, and they want the best vendor for theirs as well. So it has to be a mutual relationship. You shouldn't go into an interview looking at it like, well, I hope they give it to I hope they give me the contract. I hope they give me the deal. You can want the deal, but you want to look for the best deal that's for you. You just don't want to just throw yourself into anything and then next month you regret it. Like, I hate this job. I should have asked some questions about the culture. So I hope that's a gem for whoever's listening to take and make sure, you keep that in your back pocket, because when you get in there, hey, study them, ask them questions. They want you to ask them tough questions. And, you may even be pulled out as the candidate that they want based on the questions that you ask, because they know that you're interested and really serious about having a career there. So, last question I got for you, Sam. Looking back, what advice would you give to your former self?
Do it sooner. Yeah, honestly, if I could go back, if I could have that year back I spent hesitating and
Uh,
waiting,
yeah.
uh, that would be phenomenal. I would say do it sooner. Uh,
No, I got you, man. I got you.
yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't really know what advice I would give myself, because I feel like anything I would encourage myself to do, Level Up already encouraged me to do it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I was always encouraged to keep doing projects post graduation, to keep learning, to uh, keep pushing yourself and develop more. So, yeah,
All right. So with that, right, what would you tell someone who's watching right now that's unsure about if they should take the next step?
success is a click away. I mean, I don't know. No, you can't promise success, but what
Yeah.
you said earlier about where preparation meets opportunity,
Yeah.
right? Level up's the preparation part, and it sort of gets you to the opportunity part because the process is trying to make yourself there. You're prepared, but then really sort of throwing everything at every opportunity that comes by.
Mhm.
It's a huge numbers game, and as far as like trying to get applications out there, getting yourself seen on LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. So doing all the things to make sure that you're aware of all the opportunities that
Mm.
are out there and possible. So yeah, I would say level up is the get you prepared and get you a good way toward the opportunity.
I appreciate that, man. I would say for those who just watching, unsure if you should take the next step, I just look, this is how I feel. Whatever journey you're gonna go down, where you say, I'm just gonna do these free resources, or I'm gonna go into a community and look for a mentor, or I'm gonna join a program, or I'm gonna work with someone one on one, whatever the case may be. If God put the dream in your heart, you got the resources and tools to be successful. You just have to align yourself with the right opportunities and the right people. You're gonna have people that's gonna tell you you can't do this. You're gonna have people that spill negative views into your mind, and some people are dumped their negative trash on you. What's important in this career is to not accept that trash. Keep your mind positive. Keep your mind around people who are doing what you want to do, and continue to learn from them, and continue to invest into yourself so you can better yourself and reach the financial goals that you want by doing this type of work. I posted yesterday, if you're a person who makes $50,000 and you want to make $100,000 in this industry, the longer you take investing in yourself, learning how to build those $100,000 skills, you're losing every year. You're losing $50,000. So some people right now are on year 2 and 3 of BSing. Guess how much you lost? $150,000 already because you didn't take the steps of investing your time or finances or just sacrificing your yourself and your mind to change your mindset to learn how to build those type of skills that you said you want. If you're unsure, if you take the next step, just do it scared. You're gonna look back and realize you had nothing to be scared of in the first place. All right. So, for those of you who are super serious about trying to level up, we have a free community that has free starter courses, free projects. I'll do ton of content. I do live coaching in there as well. Level up in tech / cloud career accelerator. Get that link, join the community. Hey, it's even if you want to take your time to really figure out like what is this cloud thing like? What type of jobs can I work out here? How much can I really make? Who said what? I need to come and just learn. We got courses for that. We got videos for that, just to show you what the job market looks like, what are the hottest roles, and what cloud is, and what you can do. All right. So first off, Sam, I appreciate you, brother, for just coming, sharing your story, dropping some gems. I thank everybody for watching Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you have any questions, make sure y'all reach out to me, or you can reach out to Sam to talk more to him about his journey, whatever the case may be. But um, y'all just continue to level up and continue just move forward, continue to get better. If you can say to yourself, I just want to get better every day without seeing an immediate result, then the results will come faster. Because some of us right now is like, I want to land a role in 60 days and I have no experience, but I just, I'm tired of this job. Well, you got to give it time. You just got to come in and say, hey, I want to continue to learn and learn and learn. And eventually I will be out of this job that I don't like into a new career that I do. And I promise you, it's worth the frustration. It's worth banging your head against the wall to learn. It's worth getting out of your comfort zone. All right. So, with that being said, love y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Sam, thank you once again, brother, for joining me. And
Sure. Thanks for having me.
we see y'all later.